You want to know how to make a man miss you like crazy? Then let's start here. Stop trying to be unforgettable in his eyes and become undeniable in your own. Because a man doesn't miss someone who's chasing him. He doesn't long for what's always there, always available, always giving more than she's receiving. A man starts to miss you when your presence adds something sacred to his world and your absence creates a silence too loud to ignore. What leaves an imprint is not the frequency of your messages or the length of your calls, but the energy you brought when you were in his space. It's the way you made him feel, not what you did to keep him. Did you see him? Really see him? Did you challenge him to grow? Did you stand so rooted in your own truth that he couldn't help but respect you, even if it scared him? See, here's the secret. When a woman is deeply connected to her own worth, she becomes unforgettable without trying. She no longer performs to be chosen. She no longer shrinks to be liked. She lives with a full heart, with radiant joy, with standards not made of ego, but of self-honor. And that kind of woman is rare. That's the kind of woman a man can't shake even when he tries. You want him to miss you. Then don't lose yourself trying to make him remember you. Live your life so deeply, so boldly, that your absence speaks louder than any words you could say. Because when you're constantly texting, constantly reassuring, constantly proving your worth, you rob him of the opportunity to feel your absence. Let him feel it. Let him wonder where your light went. Let him realize he wasn't entitled to it. There's a divine principle at play here. What is truly valuable is never loud. Gold doesn't beg to be found. Diamonds don't chase buyers. And you're not here to perform for affection. You're here to be experienced in your full, whole, powerful self. A man misses what he can't find elsewhere. Not just your beauty, not your body, but your emotional presence, your insight, your softness, your fire. That combination, that's irreplaceable. So stop making him the center of your world. Make yourself the center. Focus on your growth, your friends, your passions, your dreams. Be so fulfilled that when he finally does reach out, it's not desperation that answers, it's clarity. Because you don't want to be missed by a man who doesn't value you. You want to be missed by a man who realizes he just encountered something sacred and let it slip. And if he never comes back, that's okay. Let him miss you in silence while you continue to rise. Because you're not waiting to be chosen. You're already walking in your worth. Let him miss the way your eyes challenged him to be more. Let him miss the calm you brought to chaos. Let him miss the warmth in your laugh, the power in your presence, the peace in your absence. That's how you make a man miss you, not by losing yourself for him, but by being the kind of woman he'll never find again. It's easy to believe that in order to make someone miss you, you have to be around them constantly, calling, texting, showing up, doing things to stay on their radar. But that's not how true emotional connection works. In fact, the opposite is often true. A man doesn't miss you because he sees you all the time. He misses you because when you were there, you left something behind, something that lingers. That something isn't your physical presence. It's your emotional presence. It's the way he felt when you were near. The impression you made when you didn't try to impress him. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. People don't miss how often you spoke to them. They miss how they felt after you left the room. Emotional presence is about making someone feel truly seen, deeply understood, and completely safe to be themselves around you. Most people don't realize how rare that experience is in today's world, especially for men who have learned to hide, to armor up, to keep parts of themselves tucked away. When you are emotionally present, you don't demand attention. You give it freely, but not carelessly. You listen without interrupting. You notice the little things. You remember the details. You don't try to fix him, but you create a space where he doesn't feel broken. You don't inflate his ego, but you do affirm his essence. When you're emotionally present, you're not trying to convince him of your worth. You're just showing up as someone who already knows it. And here's what most people miss. Emotional presence doesn't mean being emotionally available 24/7. It's not about being glued to your phone, answering instantly, or being on call emotionally like some unpaid therapist. That's not presence. That's panic disguised as connection. True emotional presence comes from calm, from alignment, from showing up with peace and clarity, not fear and neediness. A man doesn't miss the woman who constantly needed reassurance. He misses the one who brought serenity into chaos, laughter into silence, and a grounded strength into uncertainty. When your emotional presence is strong, you make a man feel like he touched something rare. You make him realize he didn't just spend time with a woman, he encountered someone alive, someone in tune, someone whose energy didn't seek validation, but offered warmth. And the more you anchor yourself in your emotional power, the more unforgettable you become. It's not about being flashy. It's not about saying the perfect thing. It's about being so real that he forgets what fake ever felt like. This is why sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave. Not to play games, not to punish, but because your presence shouldn't be wasted on someone who isn't appreciating the value of it. And when you step away with dignity, when you exit with grace, when you don't beg, don't chase, don't try to make him see your worth, he begins to feel the emptiness, the contrast. He begins to miss the energy that you brought to the space, not because you reminded him of it constantly, but because you let it speak for itself. Men don't miss what's loud. They miss what was felt. They miss the moments when their guard dropped, when they laughed without thinking, when they were challenged without being shamed. They miss the emotional safety you created without making it about you. And when you stop overextending, when you stop explaining, when you just be, that's when your presence starts to echo. Not as noise, but as a melody he can't stop hearing in the back of his mind. That's the power of emotional presence. It speaks in your silence and lingers in your absence. A woman who knows her value doesn't need to force anyone to miss her. She becomes unforgettable simply by being true to herself. The reason most people go unnoticed or unappreciated in relationships is not because they lack something, but because they forget to own what they already have. When you live with a high value self-identity, you communicate a truth far more powerful than any words could express. I am whole without you. And paradoxically, that's what draws people in. That's what makes a man miss you like crazy. Not your need for him, but your wholeness without him. There's something magnetic about a woman who doesn't chase attention, but instead lives in alignment with her purpose. She's not auditioning for love. She's not trying to prove her worth. She's not negotiating her standards to avoid being alone. She's not molding herself into what she thinks he wants. She's too busy being her. She's in love with her life. She's invested in her growth. She walks with intention and she speaks with clarity. She knows that her time, energy, and presence are sacred, and she doesn't offer them lightly. That kind of energy is not just attractive, it's addicting. It's what keeps a man thinking about you long after you've left the room. A high-value woman doesn't just fill space in a man's life. She elevates it. She becomes a standard. And once a man experiences that level of quality, it becomes very difficult for him to settle for anything less. She's not just physically beautiful. She's mentally sharp, emotionally grounded, and spiritually rich. She doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. She doesn't tolerate disrespect disguised as attention. She doesn't keep connections that make her feel small. And she's not afraid to walk away if a situation doesn't serve her growth. That quiet strength, that unshakable self-worth is what makes a man miss her. Because she's not like the others. She's not trying to fill a void. She's already full. And that fullness is what he starts to crave when she's gone. When you carry yourself with value, you move differently. You no longer wait around for mixed signals or chase after breadcrumbs. You no longer feel the need to convince someone to choose you. You understand that being chosen is not the prize, you are the prize. This doesn't mean arrogance, it means certainty. It means you don't operate from fear. You don't ask, am I enough for him? You ask, is he aligned with what I know I deserve? And in that simple shift, you regain all your power. A man doesn't miss the woman who clings. He misses the one who let him go with love and dignity, knowing she had nothing to prove. He misses the one who didn't compromise her boundaries just to be liked. He misses the one who didn't fall apart when he pulled away, but instead focused on her path, her peace, and her passion. That kind of woman doesn't just leave a mark, she leaves a void, a silence, a longing. Because when a man has tasted depth, light, and integrity in one's soul, every superficial connection after that will feel hollow. Your value is not in how hard you try. It's in how deeply you believe that you don't have to. When you live from that belief, everything about you changes, your posture, your energy, your conversations, your decisions. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer beg, you bless. You no longer explain, you embody. And when you become that woman, you stop wondering how to make a man miss you. because you know he will, not because you're playing a game, but because your value speaks so loudly in your silence that it's impossible to forget. There's a deep truth that often goes unspoken when it comes to relationships. We don't long for what's always in front of us. We don't crave what feels guaranteed. We don't desire what's constantly available on demand. Human nature is wired to respond to space, to tension, to mystery. And when it comes to making a man miss you, one of the most powerful tools you have is your willingness to not always be there. Not out of pride, not out of manipulation, but out of self-respect and emotional intelligence. It's in the quiet moments, in the space between interactions, that desire is born. Absence creates room for reflection, and it's in that space that a man begins to feel the emotional impact of your presence. When you're constantly available, texting first, replying instantly, always initiating the plans, you remove the natural tension that builds attraction. Not because it's wrong to show interest, but because without any room for imagination, there's no space left for desire to breathe. People need time to miss. They need contrast to appreciate. They need distance to realize what they're starting to lose. When you're always giving, always showing up, always reaching out, you take away the very thing that could make him realize how much he values you, the feeling of your absence. Creating healthy space is not a game. It's not a cold withdrawal meant to manipulate emotions. It's a quiet declaration. I am here, but I am whole on my own. That energy, that confidence, that ability to step back without fear is what makes you irresistible. It says, I enjoy you, but I don't need to fill every moment with you. That kind of detachment doesn't push love away, it invites respect. And respect is the root of longing. A man doesn't miss the woman who's waiting for him to decide. He misses the woman who chose herself before he ever had the chance. Mystery isn't about being distant or playing hard to get. It's about having a life so rich and full that you're not always reachable. You don't always reply right away because you're living. You're not constantly posting for attention because you're present in your reality. Your world doesn't revolve around whether he texts back or calls. You have purpose, you have movement. And when he does reach out, he's not met with desperation. He's met with calm, with warmth, with the knowing that you're not here to chase. You're here to connect if the energy is right. This kind of presence, coupled with the ability to step back, creates a beautiful balance. It shows emotional maturity. It says you can hold space for love, but you're not afraid of space in love. You're not terrified of silence. You don't fill it with over-explaining, overcompensating, or overdoing. You let the silence speak. You let it build. And in that silence, a man starts to feel what you brought into his life, the laughter, the depth, the calm, the edge. He begins to realize that what once felt familiar now feels missing. When you know your value, space becomes your ally. You don't rush in to fix discomfort. You don't fear his distance. You let it unfold, because if he's the right one, he'll come to feel that absence. Not because you punished him with it, but because he tasted something real in your presence and now realizes how much it matters in your absence. That's how desire deepens, not in constant closeness, but in the rhythm of connection and space. It's in that sacred balance that a man starts to miss not just your body, not just your words, but you. When a man feels emotionally drained by a connection, he doesn't miss it, he escapes it, no matter how beautiful, giving, or loyal a woman is. If her presence becomes synonymous with pressure, anxiety, or emotional weight, he will start to associate her with a burden instead of a blessing. What makes a man truly miss you is not how much you needed him, but how you made him feel when he was around you. Men don't long for emotional dependency, they long for emotional contribution. The kind that adds value to their lives, not the kind that demands they fill a void. Emotional contribution is when your presence enhances his world, not because you're fixing him or carrying his emotional load, but because you bring something grounded, joyful, peaceful, and alive into the space. You're not trying to be his savior, his therapist, or his solution. You're simply offering your energy in a way that elevates both of you. You're not coming from emptiness, you're coming from overflow. And overflow is magnetic. Overflow is unforgettable. That's what creates longing, not because you leaned on him, but because you stood beside him as an equal, offering depth without demand. Dependency, on the other hand, creates imbalance. It turns love into a transaction. I give you this much, so you'll stay. It breeds fear and insecurity. It makes the connection feel heavy. And eventually, the emotional pressure begins to outweigh the emotional reward. A A man might not know how to explain it, but he'll start to pull back. He'll need space. And if you respond to that space with even more neediness, more chasing, more validation seeking, more trying to fix or re-engage, you'll confirm his fear that your happiness depends on him. What men miss, what anyone misses, is the person who brought light into their lives, not the one who tried to get light from them. Think about the people you miss the most. It's the ones who made you feel safe, inspired, alive, and accepted. It's the ones who didn't demand your energy, but nurtured it. It's the people who gave without keeping score, who loved you from a place of freedom, not fear. When you operate from emotional contribution, your love feels like a gift, not a trap, not a task, not a weight he has to carry. Being emotionally generous is not the same as being emotionally dependent. Emotional generosity is when you offer your warmth, insight, and support from a place of strength. You're capable of walking away, but you choose to stay. You're able to be alone, but you choose connection. You don't give to control or to be owed. You give because you want to. And that energy doesn't feel desperate. It feels divine. That's the kind of love that leaves a mark. That's the kind of woman who stays on a man's mind long after the conversation ends. So when you're thinking about how to make a man miss you, stop focusing on what you can do for him. Start focusing on who you are being around him. Are you offering joy, wisdom, and light from a centered place? Or are you pouring from fear, hoping he'll stay? Because one makes him feel full and the other makes him feel responsible. And no one misses responsibility. But we all miss peace. We all miss joy. We all miss depth that didn't come with a demand. That's what emotional contribution does. It creates a lasting imprint. One that doesn't cling, doesn't beg, doesn't chase. It simply stays with him. Even when you don't. When a woman is deeply fulfilled in her own life, she becomes unforgettable without needing to try. There's something undeniably powerful about someone who is genuinely happy, content, and thriving, whether in or out of a relationship. A man doesn't just miss a woman because she said the right things or played the perfect role. He misses the woman who radiated life. The one who carried herself with purpose, who moved with confidence, who brought energy, not because she needed attention, but because she was already connected to something far bigger than him. That's the kind of woman who lingers in the heart and mind, not because she was dependent, but because she was inspired. When you live a life that is aligned, meaning your actions reflect your values, your relationships honor your standards, and your time is spent doing things that feed your soul, you become rare. You become magnetic, because in a world full of people trying to be liked, you've become someone who has chosen to be whole. You're not waiting for a relationship to complete you. You're not holding your breath for someone to save you from boredom, emptiness, or loneliness. You've built something beautiful on your own, and that beauty becomes the very thing that others can't forget. Men don't miss women who make them their entire world. They miss the ones who had a world of their own. They miss the woman who had stories to tell, passions to chase, goals to accomplish. They miss the woman whose eyes lit up when she talked about her dreams, not just her feelings. They miss the energy of someone who was excited about life, even on her own terms. That kind of fulfillment isn't just attractive, it's haunting, because it means your joy wasn't dependent on him, yet he got to witness it. He got to feel it. And once you've tasted that kind of presence, everything else feels a little dull in comparison. Living an inspired life doesn't mean being unavailable. It means being unavailable to anything that doesn't nourish your soul. It means you don't say yes to just any offer, any date, any man, simply because you want company. You've created standards based not on fear of being alone, but on love for yourself. And from that place, your energy changes. You speak with more conviction. You walk with more grace. You attract not from lack, but from overflow. And when you do connect with someone, it's not because you need them to fill a gap. It's because you want to share what you've already built. A man misses a woman not just for her beauty or charm, but for how he felt in her presence. And when you are living in alignment, you create an atmosphere that inspires others to step into more of themselves. You challenge them to grow without saying a word. You mirror back their potential simply by embodying your own. And when you leave, it's not just your words or laughter they remember, it's how they felt around you, inspired, grounded, awake. That's what they miss. That's what's rare. Your joy, your freedom, your fulfillment. These are not distractions from love. They are the foundation of it. They are what make your love pure, not needy. Strong, not desperate. Giving, not sacrificing. When a man sees that your life is rich without him, he doesn't feel pushed away. He feels drawn in. Because people crave what feels expansive, not what feels consuming. Your light becomes something he can't find elsewhere, not because he can't find another woman, but because he can't find your energy. That's what stays. That's what echoes. That's what makes him miss you, not just for who you were to him, but for who you were fully and unapologetically as you. So, if you truly want to make a man miss you like crazy, stop trying to convince him, impress him, or chase after moments. Start becoming the woman who makes an impact without demanding attention. Be the one whose presence can't be replaced, not because you tried harder, but because you are something rarer than effort. You are aligned, alive, and in love with your life. Make him miss the version of you that brought peace, not pressure. The one who didn't lose herself to keep him, but instead showed him what it looks like to be whole. That kind of woman isn't forgotten. That kind of presence echoes. And even in your silence, even in your absence, your essence lingers. You are not here to be chased. You are here to be chosen. And when you start living in full alignment with your worth, your value, your vision, the right man won't just miss you. He'll realize he can't afford to lose you. Until then, stay rooted, stay glowing, stay unavailable to anything that doesn't honor your light, because you are the standard and the world starts missing you the moment you remember that. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope something in these words reminded you of your strength, your beauty, and your brilliance. Keep choosing yourself, keep growing, and remember, the more you become the woman you're meant to be, the more unforgettable you become to everyone else. Take care of your heart, honor your journey, and until next time, thank you and goodbye.